You got a minute?
You must be part of my hangover.
And I hope the wax in your ears didn't stop you from hearing, pal.
I'll remember your face.
I'll try to forget yours.
What about the bartender?
I let him have it over the head with a peanut machine. Run along, darling, before I fracture your spine.
Is that gun loaded? You want to find out? No, I'm happy at just guessing.
You don't have to say anything and you don't have to do anything.
All right, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up.
If you're the police, where are your badges?
I don't have to show you any stinking badges.
Welcome to the Speakeasy Noir Cast, a podcast discussing film noirs of yesterday and neo-noirs of today. Each week, we're going to deliver a discussion of our analysis of classic noir films, and occasionally we'll interview up-and-coming directors and writers of new neo-noir films, all mixed in with our unintelligible banter. Your hosts for the show, Jason D. Morris and Carly Street.
I haven't been known to be smart too often, but when I am...
When you are, it pays off.
Sometimes. All right, it looks like it's recording. So we'll pretend that it is. Damn it.
Okay, show for the excitement.
God damn it. I don't know what just happened.
Are you okay?
I think so. Whew. Yeah, I think so.
You sounded like you were trying to, I don't know.
Something.
Something happened.
All right. So what you been up to? How's work going? How's the holidays? Are you all shopped up? Have you finished all that crazy outdoors giving people money for things time?
I finished ages ago because I'm one of them lunatics that buys my shopping in August.
Oh, that's right. You know what? I forgot about that. I think we already talked about that, didn't we?
Yeah.
My memory. Just shoot me. Jesus. Don't get old, folks. Don't get old.
Or have multiple notepads.
Right? Yeah, I do probably need to do that. I need an assistant to just follow me around, but a free one because I can't afford an assistant. So... yeah.
Oh, if I lived near you, I would happily follow you around going, you forgot that. You forgot that. You did say that. No, you forgot that too.
You would just have fun doing it.
No, it'd probably be me going oh, I was supposed to remind you about that, but I lost my notepad as well. Shit.
Or I could just hear you every 5 minutes. That's not how you pronunciate that.
This is not how we behave in public, Jason, remember. Say words properly.
Still figuring that one out. A Brit trying to teach an American how to say American words.
Oh my God. I'd get a shot.
Oh boy. So I think last time you told me, did you actually finish watching The Crown? Did you watch the absolute last episode? You done with that?
Yes.
Okay.
I watched it.
All right, what is next for you? What's the next big show that you're going to get hooked into?
I don't know. I don't think I have one. I think I've reached the end of the road.
Oh yeah, you're 20-something and you can even find a new show to watch? Come on.
I've watched everything on Netflix.
Everything?
Even the shit stuff. I have watched some serial killer stuff that even the guards that are getting paid to guard them don't want to know. It's that boring. Obviously, murder's never boring, but in comparison...
You're I've seen that one before.
I've watched stuff in Spanish that I can't make head nor tails of what's going on. I don't know. What should I watch? What's good?
That's funny because there have been a few things that have popped up, particularly on Netflix, where it looked really intriguing and interesting. And then I'll start to play it and it's in Spanish. And I'm like, damn it, I don't speak Spanish. And then I'll switch it to English dub. And it's so awful. The dubbing is so terrible. I'm just
really detracts from it, doesn't it? So it could be the most amazing thing ever, but because it's completely out of sync and it feels like it's miles behind, even though you don't really get a grasp on the language, it's what?
Yeah, exactly. It's that way, yeah. And I think I watched another one that might have been Russian or something like that. And it looked really cool because it was a film noir, a modern made noir film that was set in the 40s.
Ooh.
and it looked really cool. And like I really tried my hardest to get through it and watch it, but I just couldn't.
Because I do I don't mind subtitles. Do you mind because I really like the French film. I'm probably going to say it wrong. Le Hen. And that's obviously completely in French. It's a French film, but it's got subtitles. But it doesn't detract from it. It's really easy to still be involved in it because I think it's a lot to do with how it's shot. So you could pretty much watch it without the subtitles in silence, and you would still be able to follow what's happening because it's so gripping. But I've never really found a film that's been like that since. I don't know whether my standards are too high since watching that one.
Try for a French movie. You've probably already seen this, but La Jetée. Have you seen that?
No, I haven't.
All right, so that's a really old film. It's a short, actually, and it's a movie, but it consists of a series of photographs.
Oh, that's interesting.
How it's presented, right? So even though it's a movie, it's like the shots are comprised of photographs, and it's pretty interesting. You should check it out if you get a chance. It's one of the first films that I was introduced to in film school, and it's really good. But I'm certain it's subtitled. It's been a long time, but I don't mind subtitles. Don't tell my daughter this, but because I've got her believing that I hate them, and the real reason is I'm getting older and I can't fucking read them.
They're going too fast. Slow down.
So my eyes, especially this last year, my eyes just have taken a turn for the worse. I've always worn glasses since my mid to late 20s, and I just don't. I'm not good with keeping them on my head. So they tend to lay around places and get scratched up, and then I don't wear them at all. So my eyes have just gradually gotten worse.
Let's hope what your eye doctor or whatever you call them over there isn't listening.
Optometrists,
to you.
Yeah, they don't. They give me different prescriptions every time I go in. And I'm like, I don't know. It's hard to it's hard to take them seriously because one day you'll go in and your eyes will be really bad, and next time you go to the optometrist, it's like your eyes have improved. I'm like, I don't think that's a thing, is it? Can your eyes improve?
They're not regenerating themselves.
Right? Yeah. So subtitles, I never really minded, except for I just can't. It's hard to read them unless I can find my glasses. And my daughter is really into anime and Studio Ghibli movies, and so she doesn't like watching the English dubbed versions. She always wants to watch it in the original language with the subtitles, and she watches everything on Netflix with subtitles on. And it annoys me because I'll be trying to read them, but I can't. So I'm not only not paying attention to the movie, but also reading gibberish. So,
oh dear.
That's, yeah. Like I said, folks, don't get old. And I'm not even really that old. I'm 44, but I feel like I'm 84. Jesus. Carter's like, oh shit, you're how old?
No, it's not old. You act about you're 200.
I feel like I'm 200. Damn it! You're only as old as you feel, right?
I don't know though. Sometimes I feel like I've been dug up. I feel
that's what I was about to say.
I a pharaoh in Egypt? Have I been mummified? Has somebody excavated me? Because I kind of feel like it. And now they're sending me to work, and I don't like it.
Yep, that's the way it feels sometimes. Oh, so how's the new job going? Everything going good?
Yeah, I did. Well, it's my last shift till the new year today. So.
Oh, nice. All right, very cool.
Yeah, that was cool.
So they give you a good amount of time off, huh?
Yeah, they were really good because I switched jobs towards the tail end of the year. I already had some stuff booked.
Nice.
So they were really good with honouring that.
Very cool.
So yeah, can't complain.
Yeah. Nice when you got an employer that values you, right? Yep.
Yeah, plus they give me a little badge. I love free stuff. I'm there for life.
A little badge.
I'm sorted. Yeah, Give me a little badge.
Free. It's free.
It's free. I'm like, you thought of me for this free tap, and I'm there for it. A cup? I'll take one of them. Let me take 2.
Right. Well, all right. Now we're into the drinking season, which by the time the folks at home hear this podcast, so we might be well past the drinking season, which the drinking season for me would be considered Christmas. That is when
I'll still be in drinking season, people. Don't worry.
That's what I'm saying. Like, is there a time where it ends?
15 years, just because.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I know.
Yeah. No, it's like, kind of the same thing with me. It's like as I got older, I started developing like allergies to certain things. Basically, it feels like almost everything. So almost like, I don't know, like almonds, kiwi, apples, like all kinds of crazy stuff. Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, and I used to love apples, and I love kiwi. Kiwi is one of my favorites. But yeah, like all these different things now.
In the district attorney's office, we see what happens to middle-aged men who try to act like coats. It's an idle flirtation, one drink too many.
I was warned against the siren call of adventure. I should never have stopped to talk with you.
You mean you're afraid of me?
There are only 3 ways to deal with a blackmailer. You can pay him and pay him and pay him until you're penniless. Or you can kill him. Who are you?
Franco, listen!
I told you if you ever... Stop that, you fool! Listen to me!
All right, that was the trailer for tonight's film, The Woman in the Window, a 1944 American film noir directed by Fritz Lang and starring Edward G. Robinson, Joan Bennett, Raymond Massey, and Dandere. I don't
know. I was looking at his name, trying to pronounce it myself, and I thought, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, we went through this before with him, and I don't know. But yeah, you guys at home, if you know film noir, you probably know who I'm talking about. A very distinct actor. Anyway, before we get too far into that, we do need to get into a nutshell and hear a synopsis. And now it's time for Carly's super famous in a nutshell synopsis.
I'm dead excited for this one. Okay. No, I am. Right. But I haven't put any commas in it, so it could just be a straight through garble. So here we go.
Any periods or any punctuation at all?
There's none. There's a full stop at the end. That's it. I was so excited when I wrote it. I was like, whoa! A man whose infatuation with a beautiful woman's portrait drives him into a dangerous nightmare involving manslaughter, CSI, unprofessional DAs, true crime podcast-worthy forensic field trips, and one hell of a siesta.
Siesta. That's great. I love that field. I really like that one. I do.
Thank you.
That's pretty good. I love the field trip. That's awesome.
Well, it's because when he was going out on, I thought, oh my god, if this was like a true crime podcast, they could be loving this.
Shawnee and I watched this, and we're just like, "What is wrong with this guy? He is so dumb. What is he doing? Just shut up! Stop talking."
I know, he's telling everybody, "I scratched my hand. Oh, I fell in a bush. Oh, that's the bush."
It's hilarious because he goes around telling everybody while he's like using, the hand to shake and do whatever, and then after he tells everybody, then he starts using his left hand. It's like, what? So silly. You've already told them. You might as well just let them see it.
Oh man!
And nobody suspects him either.
No. This genius, really.
Right? It's like, just make yourself look as guilty as possible and they won't suspect you.
Exactly. Oh, the woman's coming. Oh, I feel faint. I've got to sit in the car.
Oh my goodness.
And then he's gawping out the window the entire time. She's going to see you.
It's crazy. Oh man. So the movie, it tells the story of a psychological professor who meets a young femme fatale and murders her lover in self-defense. And it's actually it's quite a bit more than that. But the thing that really intrigued me about this movie is how similar it is to Scarlet Street, which we just recently watched.
Yes. And also, I watched this one, and then immediately what played afterwards was Scarlet Street. So I thought, interesting. I'll watch them one after the other. And it was really, I can see why people get confused between the two.
Yeah. Now, did you watch both of these before we talked about Scarlet Street? Or just
no,
I've
never seen this one before.
Right. But you said you watched Scarlet Street. It came on right after this one. Did you watch Scarlet Street
I watched
again?
it again. Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah. It was so fresh in my mind as I'm watching. I was like, whoa, wait a second. All three of these people are in the other movie too. And it revolves around a painting. And I'm like, what? And then the killing of the boyfriend and like all that kind of stuff is just like, wow, what is going on here?
But then two completely extreme endings for the two different films. It's like one scale or the other.
Yeah.
Tell you what, though, I couldn't. I had to double check. I actually had to do like research to check that was Joan Bennett in both of them films because her performances were so different in both of them. I was like, no, that's a different woman. That'd be a different woman. And then I was on the internet going, no, I still don't believe it. That's got to be a different woman. I was literally at the TV looking at her like, no. Her eyebrows are similar. No, it can't be. I genuinely couldn't get over it.
Yeah, no, I totally hear what you're saying because I could recognize her. I knew it was her, but she is very different in both movies. Like she did a fantastic job, I think, in both of them actually. But I was very intrigued by this movie because the similarities of Scarlet Street, and I couldn't recall what year Scarlet Street was, but I had to look it up and start researching the details of this. And what I found out is I believe that this was the first movie. So Fritz Lang, I guess, is notorious for being pretty difficult with cast and crew coming over from, to America. He had a bit of a tough time with studios because of his issues with cast and crew. And I guess he found it difficult to find work or to stay employed. So he ended up, I guess, starting a production company with someone. And I think that this was their first movie that they did as a production company. And I think that from what I understood, I think they only did like 5 or something like that. I could be wrong, but I think that's what it was. So anyway, or this was, no, I'm getting that wrong. I think Scarlet Street was the first one. This one was a studio movie, and I guess the interference or the problems that he had, the first movie for his production company ended up being Scarlet Street, which was basically a remake of The Woman in the Window, which I think he ended up doing mainly because of the ending of the film, which I think is odd because the Woman in the Window definitely has like a couple twists at the end. And they, from what I can tell and understand, they were not actually Fritz Lang's ideas at all. I think the initial ending was part of the book that it was based on. And then I think there was a twist that was written into the script, but I think Fritz Lang was going to leave it out or something like that. And
Is it something to do with the studio code?
Yeah. It ended up being like something with the studio code where they ended up leaving the dream sequence in.
Right.
To kind of compensate for that. And I guess that was a problem for him. But anyways, it was lauded by it was critics and everybody really liked it. So apparently he took credit for it as like being his idea or whatnot.
Fair enough, lad.
Right. So, I thought that was pretty intriguing. And then, like, his first film with his new production company that he does is basically a remake of the movie, which is, I think, is a more complicated and layered film than Woman in the Window. They're as similar as they are, they're two very different movies.
Because Woman in the Window is more character driven, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah,
Scarlet Street.
Yeah, it's well, I don't know. I'm not sure if that's it, because the characters are so different in the two, but also it's kind of like the events are so similar. It's hard to, I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what it is. To me, they're just two very different movies, and I can see merits in both of them. But I see a lot of people liking Woman in the Window better, but I think that I like Scarlet Street better because I think the plotting was a little more intricate and layered with how they did certain things. As to where Woman in the Window, I think, is a little more straightforward, less complicated to follow, and kind of less roller coastery than Scarlet Street, until you get to the end where you got the sort of double twist thing, which, granted, for the time, I think is pretty cool. It's a pretty cool idea. But yeah, I felt the complexities, I think, of Scarlet Street were a little more to my liking. Not that I didn't like this film, but it's just different. It's just, they're so different,
That's interesting, because I quite liked the I don't want to say like the true crime element, because that's obviously like a recent thing, but kind of like watching like it in, like when you used to watch Columbo and you knew who did it at the beginning, and then you were just waiting for Columbo to kind of like figure it out.
Yeah, Woman in the Window definitely has more of the sort of investigative side of it.
Yeah, and I really liked how it showed him, like, because he knew about this, he actually thought for a second logically, and it's been so long since I've watched a film where a character thinks logically about it. I mean, he still made loads and loads of fucking mistakes, but at least he tried to think logically in the beginning about it, and I really enjoyed him, even though it was ridiculous that he was on a field trip. I really liked watching him, like, oh, they're going to figure him out in a minute, he's just opened his trap again. He's going to say something. Yeah. I really quite enjoyed that aspect of it.
And speaking of the field trip, I felt like there's like a missed opportunity there with the when they go over the bridge again, or the toll, that the guy that he drops the dime with doesn't pop up again in that scene, because that could have been a pretty suspenseful little thing right there with him seeing them again, But I thoroughly enjoyed that sort of idea and being able to follow along, because it's very much like, nowadays where they talk about, murderers wanting to inject themselves into the crime scene or the investigation kind of thing. And that's pretty much what he was doing, although his motives for doing that weren't necessarily gratification because he's a murderer, out of choice, really. More like, can I get close enough to see if they're going to suspect me, kind of thing.
Yeah, because he didn't know about forensics, did he? That was the only thing that he kind of was a little bit unsure on. And so he was trying to, because every time they mentioned something about forensics, he looked like he had a mini heart attack. He's like, fibers!
Right. And he leaves so many clues.
So many.
Yeah, it's like, man, this dude would have been caught real quick if it was today's time. But it's like back then, it's like you're kind of thinking about it. And that was one of the fascinating things about watching a period movie like this, is almost in the same way that his character is kind of feeling out the forensic ideas and listening and stuff like that. As an audience member, understanding more of that stuff today, it's very interesting to listen to the detectives in this movie discuss their theories and whys and how they're connecting these things and how their logic flow is. I found that pretty
judgmental, aren't they, as well?
Oh yeah.
Do you not think like he's quite obviously done it? He's stood there with poison ivy, protruding from his wrist. Do you know what I mean? And like in front of a poison ivy bush, like right where the body is that he's walked straight over to. And they're just like, oh no, he's just a little law professor. It'd be fine. It's not him. He's an upstanding citizen. He's got a letter from the university. Don't worry about him. Move on.
I mean, being a professor, I guess, gets you a long ways, right?
Well, it gets you to a crime scene, love.
Right, because he, ultimately, like in the story, he never really gets caught at all, or even close to getting caught, honestly. So it's pretty fun. It's a pretty fun thing to follow along with. I didn't understand why in that field trip scene he did not want to be out there when they brought the Joan Bennett character up to talk to her.
Well, because maybe she thought he's double-crossed her, and then she'd open her trap. Because that's what I'd think. If I got out of a police car and he stood there at the crime scene, I'd think, oh, you've dobbed me in it. Well, I'm going to tell him what you did.
Right. I mean, I don't know. Maybe that could be it. I was honestly thinking that was going to be a twist. No. You know what, Carly? We're totally wrong about this. That wasn't her. Remember? The cops didn't even know about her. That was a different mistress that he had.
It was a different mistress. Yeah, but he didn't know, did he, at the time?
Yeah, he didn't know. He thought it was her.
Yeah, so that's why he would have hidden the car. Because if it was her and she saw him, that's 100% what it would look like, is that he'd gone to the police and he was helping them. Or he was trying to blame her. I
don't know why that just popped into my head, but yeah, I think I knew that when I was watching the movie, but I kind of forgot. But yeah, that was a different woman. And I think it's because you don't ever see the other woman.
Oh, you see from the back.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you only see, so you don't know who it is, but you don't see her like actually in the movie as a character per se. She's only talked about briefly. So I think that's the reason why I didn't really remember that. But I thought that was kind of funny. I figured that, I don't know, maybe he would be out there to find out what she would say, because he might have felt that she was going to double cross him too. Like that could have been interesting, because she kind of did stealing his pen, right? Like she was keeping some evidence on him.
Well, he did distinctly go through the rules and told her to get rid of everything. And if she'd have got rid of that little... I mean, how was the blackmailer going to track him down from a pencil when they can't even figure out that the blood that's left and the coat that he's wearing is at the bloody crime scene? So how's this blackmailer going to find this bloke with 2 initials and a pencil?
Well, he was very astute. I don't know what other...
Yeah, right. He needs to be bloody psychic, not astute.
Well, he was, though. Like, he went through that room, like, quickly and found evidence after evidence, right?
He did. I mean, he was like a whippet, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was on it. I'm like, he missed his calling. He went to the crook side, and he should have been a cop.
Yeah.
I know he was like a private investigator or something, but like he really should have been a cop, because he did pretty well. But speaking of that whole thing, I really loved that scene where she is going to drug him, and he kind of like assumes, and they go through that whole cat and mouse thing where he's inviting her to go off with him and whatnot. And she just pushes a little too hard to get him to drink the drink,
Yeah.
Thought that was pretty.
I mean,
pretty
she
fun.
should really have backtracked and gone, okay, and then poisoned him in the morning.
Right?
Ambush in the morning.
Yeah, she might have had to do a little dirty something there, but that she probably could have got out of it.
Or you just say, here's a little, or you just stop at like a diner or something on the way. Let's stop on the way. Let's have a little cocktail. They all love cocktails then, didn't they? Have a little cocktail, little shoosh in there.
Shoosh.
See you later, pal. Yeah, that was me shaking poison into it. I don't know. I don't know why it made that noise.
That's funny. Your onomatopoeias. Shoosh.
Shoosh.
Yeah. I thought Dan DeRay's character was he was great, just like in Scarlet Street. Like he plays the same freaking dude,
Very similar, weren't they?
Yeah. But I mean, he's just so fun to watch, and he's so slimy.
I liked him a lot. He's just the quintessential slimy, like bad guy.
Yeah. And I can't get over, like, every time I see him, I'm like, is that Frank Sinatra? I don't know why. It just reminds me of him. I think it's the movie that we watched with Frank Sinatra, where the sniper movie.
Oh yeah.
Like, for some reason, it just reminds me of him. But yeah. Now, did you? I found this interesting because it's a 1944 film, right? It's like mid 40s, and in my opinion, there's plenty of noir films that have come before this. However, this film is regularly cited as being one of the genre-defining films that have coined the term film noir. However, I didn't come across any reasoning for that, other than it was in a book somewhere that somebody says that. And I was just curious, like, what your thoughts were. Or did you come across anything about that?
I did come across. Yeah, I did come across a little bit of information about that. And I thought, well, there must have been loads more before then.
Yeah, I mean, we've covered a lot of them, but are we just considering them film noirs now? Or was it at the time? Like, where, that's the one thing I was confused about. At the time, did they actually start calling this a film noir in 1944?
This is the problem we've had, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I thought that was a term that kind of came much later, like after the era was done with, and that's just kind of how we defined it.
Yeah.
So it's
maybe there was a lot of elements that were borrowed from this one, because there is quite a lot. There's quite a dark, like, character. You've got the quite clear femme fatale, but not in the normal way, because she's not really bad. Mm-hmm. She's not trying to get anything from him. Like, it was just a situation that happened, and then she did try and she stood by him all the way through it, even though it wasn't real.
Yeah, so, I guess maybe in that respect, thinking about it, I feel like it's missing film noir aspects more than it has, honestly.
I wouldn't say that it looks like one. I wouldn't say it's stylized like one.
But not the whole film, no.
I'd say it's more sort of character, the despair of the character and the sort of darkness of the character towards the end.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with that. Until the twist ending, the second twist ending, kind of thing. Like
the first twist ending is so despair. Despair-filled.
Yeah. That fits perfectly. But like you're saying, like, yes, there's a femme fatale, but she's not really a femme fatale. She's just a female, in the movie.
Yeah, she's not evil. She's not conniving. She didn't threaten anybody with a gun.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know. It's that's a little perplexing to me that this was a movie that they would consider as originating the term. But again, it's something maybe to look more into. Because I did watch the when this aired on was it TCM? Is that what TCM, right?
TCM, yeah.
Yeah, on Noir Alley, I watched the what Eddie Muller had to say about it, and I didn't really get anything from him either in terms of that. So I don't know. I'm not sure. However, speaking of the end of this movie, now, did you at some point have an idea of how you thought it was going to end?
Do you know what? I am so surprised, because this is one of the few films I was literally sat watching it thinking, I've got no fucking idea how he's going to get out of this. I genuinely don't know how this is going to end.
Yeah.
Yeah, really. I was really surprised. I was surprised by the first twist, but it didn't necessarily come out of the blue, because it seemed like that's where his character was heading as the only escape.
Uh-huh.
But then he'd been so helpful beforehand. I think it was just because he was too tired or too stressed and drained to come up with any other ideas. But then I was completely shocked by the next one. And then the ending, the final little scene at the end, just made me laugh my arse off. I thought that was hysterical.
The final what part do you think was hysterical?
when he goes out after he's woke up and he goes to the window and there's a face in the window and she goes, "You got a light," and he's like, "Bug off," and just runs away.
Yeah, that was funny. It was pretty funny.
Oh, it's so funny.
Yeah. Shawnee and I both laughed at that part.
I thought that was so funny. I think that part to me is I know there's quite a few people that don't like the ending, but that little addition at the end made it okay, because I thought, no, that kind of it adds just a tiny little bit of comical sort of everyday levity to it that I think just...
Sure. You can imagine anybody else going through that having the same reaction, I think.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly what you would do if you woke up from that dream. That would exactly be your reaction, and it's just so human. It's just so funny. It just makes me think, okay.
Yeah. So the drug aspect, like, I did think that obviously that was going to come back. That was foreshadowing. I didn't realize it was going to be foreshadowing necessarily for Joan Bennett's character to drug the blackmailer. But I thought that was pretty cool. And, so then at that point I was like, oh, okay, so the drug thing's probably done with because he gave it to her. But I guess he kept some or bought more or whatever it is. And I just I assumed that if that was going to come into play, it was going to be accidental, because I didn't really get him being a family. Well, in this dream world, he wasn't a good family man, but he still had kids and stuff, right? So it was a little off-putting that he would have committed suicide over this, having kids and all that. So that kind of like bothered me to a certain extent, because that's super dark. But then, as a film noir, I was like, okay, cool. It's a film noir that feels right, and it's supposed to bother you. Those things aren't supposed to feel comfortable, right? So I thought that was pretty good, the way that they did it, and then receiving the phone call and not answering it and all that. And so it really did shock me when it became a dream. I was like, it really came out of left field for me. I was surprised.
He was dead for a second.
Yeah, right. And I know there's
when he woke up.
Yeah. What's that?
When he woke up, did you think he was dead for a second? And he was like in heaven or something stupid like that?
Yeah, I wasn't sure. I was like, oh, they revived him or something. Like, I don't know. I didn't know what to think, honestly. It didn't click with me that it was a dream at all until the camera starts to pull back and it's the scene from the club, and all that. Like, that really like starts to click and you get it. But I didn't get it right away, and I was confused for definitely a moment. I didn't think he was in heaven though, but that's obviously a good guess, But I know there's some interesting information out there about how they did that end scene. And when I read about it, I had to go back and watch the end scene again to see if I could see it. So,
well, tell us more.
Did you read anything about the end scene? How they pulled off that sort of like? Okay, so what happens in the end scene? Like, you see him die, and the camera pushes in on his face. Right. So he's in the chair. He's wearing like a suit robe or something like that. I don't know, some kind of robe, and it pushes in on his face, and then it pulls back, and then he wakes up and he's back in the club, right? And there's no cut or anything, supposedly. And he's in his suit and not the robe anymore. And the location is different, right? So it's pretty smooth, and I didn't catch it the first time I watched it. But if you go back and watch that ending again, you can see what they did is they had a breakaway clothing on him that was on top of his suit for the final scene. So when he commits suicide, he's wearing like this robe thing that's a breakaway robe. So when the camera pushes in, the crew pulls the robe off without him getting up or moving. They switch the glass in his hand. and the crew changes the background back to the club.
That must have been a very, very stressful 30 seconds.
Yeah. Now, the thing is, though, is that if you watch closely, there is some sort of cut there, though. And I'm not certain why or what happened, but there is a shift, not only in lighting, but it's some kind of like, I'm not sure if it's a crossfade or what it is, but there's something you can tell shifts on his face. But you can absolutely see the robe being ripped off of him. And it's such a similar color. It's damn near unnoticeable unless you're looking for it. But you can definitely see it. So it's very interesting. And I urge you to go back and just kind of watch that last like 30 seconds of the movie.
Ooh, I'm going to have to.
Yeah. Now, did you choose to watch the colorized version or the black and white?
Black and white.
Same here. And I don't know why. I looked at the colorized version and kind of skimmed through it real quick, and I thought it looked pretty decent. But I think just because it's a noir, I just watched.
I watched the colorized version of Scarlet Street after this when I watched Scarlet Street the second time, and it just didn't feel quite right. I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird, right? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's strange how that kind of like it changes things. Like there's just movies like this, just I don't know, feel better in black and white.
I think they're meant to be. They're meant to be in black and white, aren't they? It's film noir.
Yeah, I mean, not only that, but I mean, they were shot and made that way, you know. So it just, yeah, I don't know. It just looks better. Well, let's see. I got a quote here from Variety.
Oh.
And I'm going to mispronounce this word. So
get ready, everybody.
That's right. So this is in regards to the critical response to the film when it came out. So when the film was released, the staff at Variety magazine lauded the film and wrote, I don't know what this word is. I didn't even bother looking it up. Nunnally?
Nunnally?
Nunnally? Nunnally? I don't know. I'm not really sure. That's like a Donald Trump word, maybe. Maybe he is an insane genius or whatever they call him. I don't know. Nunnally Johnson whips up a strong and decidedly suspenseful murder melodrama in Woman in the Window. The producer, who also prepared the screenplay from the novel Once Off Guard by J.H. Wallace, continually punches across the suspense for constant and maximum audience reaction. Added are especially fine timing in the direction of Fritz Lang and outstanding performances by Edward G. Robinson, Joan Bennett, Raymond Massey, and Dan DeRay. And I think too, so I don't agree with the continually punches across the suspense sort of like they're making it sound a little more exciting and actiony than I think it is, which I think that's more Scarlet Street to me. I think Scarlet Street's a little more fast paced. Like there's a lot more going on.
And a bit more violence
going
on as well in Scarlet Street.
Yeah, he slaps the crap out of her in that movie, right?
Yeah, and he's driving cars nearly into shops, and there's all sorts of good stuff going on.
Yeah. But yeah, apparently the movie was very well received, and it's continually well received today. It holds an 88% rating on Rotten Tomato, and it's named the best film noir of all time by Paste Magazine in August of 2015, which I wouldn't call it the best film noir, but it's good. It's definitely worth watching.
I think it had good elements. Did it remind you of Laura?
A little bit, yes.
Yes.
It has it's the same sort of, I would classify them as like the same kind of genre. I know they're film noirs and everything, but they're the same sort of, I would say, subgenre, because there's noirs that are like more geared towards like specific elements, like whether it's crime or getting away from the cops or not getting caught, or revolving heavily around like love.
Mm-hmm.
So I would definitely classify like Laura and Scarlet Street and The Woman in the Window as like kind of in that same sort of realm. Absolutely. But the film did pretty well as far as awards go. At the 18th Academy Awards, Woman in the Window was nominated for Best Scoring of Dramatic or Comedy Picture for Hugo Friedhofer and Arthur Lang. Which I wonder if Arthur Lang is related to Fritz Lang. I don't know. However, Miklos Rozsa won the award for Spellbound. But,
oh my God, can you imagine if you had to read out at an award show the name of the person that had won?
Yes, I would be absolutely embarrassed for
You'd
the
still
people.
be there now. You'd be announcing the award in 1992, and we'd still be here now if you're going, A apostrophe. Can anyone say this name?
Miklos. Like, is he having a stroke? Is there a doctor in the room?
Z. No, that's a Y. Wrong card.
It'd be the only time in Academy Award histories where everybody's booing for no reason. Than pronunciation. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, Carly, I think it's that time for us to give these folks at home our ridiculous ratings and tell them what they should think about the movie, right?
Yay! You go first.
I've
been first.
You go first.
Three times.
Oh, have you? Okay.
It feels like it. I might just be making that up.
It could be. I don't know. I can't remember. So there are a lot of things that I like about this movie. I love the cast. I love Fritz Lang. I think he's a great director. I like the story of the movie. I love the sort of investigative aspects of the movie and how not assertive, but how confident the cops are in this film. And not because they're just narcissistic and out to get the bad guy kind of thing, like most noir movies, because they're generally wrong in those movies. In this movie, they're actually it appears that they're actually doing real detective work, and the clues that they're interpreting and finding seem very real world sort of clues that you would find, and not just for dramatic effect in the movie. I never thought about it raining and the tire tracks and the stuff like that. Never even thought about it. But then when it shows it, it's like, oh yeah, right. Oh my God, this guy made a lot of mistakes. So I think that they did that really well. However, I think the downfall of this movie for me has to do with seeing Scarlet Street first. And I really loved that movie. And the fact that it has the same three actors in both movies, the same three leads, I definitely lean towards Scarlet Street heavily, opposed to The Woman in the Window. Not that I didn't like it, but I think it's in a lot of ways inferior to Scarlet Street. Mainly, I think because of the pacing of the movie. And I feel that Scarlet Street is more complex. I think it's much more deeper, and it's not, I don't know how to put this, especially with Joan Bennett's character, like she is dealing with a lot in that movie. As to where her character in this movie, she's almost just sort of like a side character. She doesn't have a lot to do. She doesn't do a lot. She's just sort of the temptress, and then she just goes along with everything he says. And that's pretty much it. So her role is very simple. Like everybody's roles in this movie are very simplistic in terms of like the plot to me, as to where Scarlet Street to me is much more complex. And even Edward G. Robinson's performance in Scarlet Street, I think, is more complex because he's got more to deal with. It's not, with his wife, his
longing for something else, having aspirations of being a painter and these other things that are going on. I just think everybody in that film has more complex things going on. So I enjoy it as a film a lot more. So my rating for this is skewed because of that. And I almost wish I had watched this film before Scarlet Street. But I didn't.
Yeah.
So as such, I'm going to rate it as I view it this time because I can't go back. Right. So I can't give you any real reasons to say like, oh, this is not a good movie or they messed something up or there's a reason why other than that. So I think your mileage will vary. It depends on, the style of movies that you like and which movie that, you watched first. And at least that's my view of it, I guess. So I give Woman in the Window a 7. But I feel like I probably would have given it like an 8 or 9 if I had watched it first. But that's
a shame.
Yeah, as things are at the moment, I give it a 7 because it's like if I had the choice to watch this over Scarlet Street, I would go to Scarlet Street because they're essentially like similar, right? But that doesn't mean I would never watch this movie again because I was entertained. I think it's good, and I like the ending, and I like the crime scene investigation stuff, and there's some comical stuff in it that you don't find in Scarlet Street. So it's definitely got a lot going on for it and it's well worth watching. And I'm sure there's plenty of people that will probably want to punch me in the face for saying this, but I prefer Scarlet Street over it. So I give it a 7.
That's interesting because I was trying really hard not to judge them side by side.
Yeah.
Because I think that the perfect film would be this one with with the similar sort of ending of Scarlet Street.
Uh-huh.
On that one.
Yeah.
So if he had got away with it and it didn't end up being a dream and he didn't end up nearly killing himself.
Uh-huh.
But he actually went insane because he did get away with it.
Yeah.
But that's not the film that they made.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of ways. Because, I mean, if you look at Scarlet Street, it's more of a noir. You really have a real femme fatale. You really have a bleak ending. You really have a guy that, is unhappy in his life, whereas like Woman in the Window is not, they don't really show that he's unhappy in his life. He just makes a really stupid choice.
Yeah, it's just like temptation, isn't it? It's like,
right. Yeah.
It's like what temptation could lead to.
Exactly.
I guess, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I think that's exactly what it is. As to where, Scarlet Street, like he is unhappy. This is an unhappy man and she does not treat him well. So you feel a little more empathy for him, even though he's, in the wrong, like cheating on his wife. Like that's not okay, but I guess it's more understandable under the circumstances because we get to see it firsthand, like how he actually is treated.
You can see more of what drove him to it.
Exactly. As to where Woman in the Window, you don't see that. They look like they have a great relationship and, whatever it is. So and he's got kids and it's just like, I don't know. Yeah. But anyway, continue.
So I don't know. I've ummed and ahed about this one because originally I was going to give it a 9. And then the more I sat and thought about it, something just didn't quite fit right with a 9. Like, it's good. I really enjoyed the film. I really did like it. And I personally didn't find an issue with the ending. I know, I can see why it would annoy people because you saw how Shutter Island annoyed me.
Right, yeah.
So I can completely understand why people would probably have gone, excuse me, I've been invested for this. For
granted, though, they didn't have to. Yeah, but granted, they didn't have to go to all the explanation like Shutter Island did, right? They don't say anything. They just show it.
They literally whipped off his suit, put another one on, and Bob's your uncle. Like, right?
It's a fake suit.
It's a fake suit, so you needed Leo with fake suit, love. And I love Edward G. Robinson so much. I think he's fast becoming the new king of noir, I think. He's coming after Bogart's title.
Yeah. I think he's fantastic.
And I think, I think that's a little bit the reason why I've sort of ummed and ahed between a 9 and an 8 is because I think after realising that it was the same actress, right, she's so good, she's so different, but she's so wasted, like you said. Wasted, absolutely wasted. And so, to some extent, is Edward G. Robinson's character. He's nowhere near as captivating. You just enjoy watching him because he's good.
Right. Yeah.
But there isn't like enough, considering that the film hinges so much on being character driven and the little idiosyncrasies and things like that make the character. You don't really get a constant enough flow of them. He just kind of becomes bumbling and then completely changes his character and does something that seems way out of character.
Right.
Then wakes up.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably why I'm going to settle on 8.
8? Okay.
Yeah,
So
I'm going to say 8.
fun.
And I did really enjoy it, and I would watch it again. Yeah, it was good. It was good. It was just, I don't know, it was just something that was a little bit off. I can't quite put my finger on it, but I think it's characters a little bit. Because I didn't have a massive issue with the plot. I know it's a lot more simplistic, but I did enjoy the little CSI investigations.
No, I definitely agree. Like the plot, I think is great. I don't have a problem with the plot either. Like it's more about with Scarlet Street. They create characters that are just more. They're dealing with more. They're more complex. They're deep. There's more to think about and to deal with in that story.
It's more unpredictable.
Yeah, I mean that's part of it. Yeah, definitely. Like you don't know how they're going to handle certain things, especially the Joan Bennett character. You know, because she's being torn between a lot of different elements and abused. You know, so it's like it's really crazy in my opinion. But yeah, I mean that's pretty good though. Like I totally respect that rating. I do. Well. All right, so we got a 7 gins out of 10, and we got an 8 gins out of 10. No matter what, you're still getting drunk. So watch The Woman in the Window, along with your The Window's Mirage, which actually we didn't even really talk about, much. The whole movie is set up by a painting that these 3 friends admire in a window, and
I know
the woman that's in the painting actually shows up and starts talking to the Edward G. Robinson character. And that's how this whole nightmare begins.
It's like the equivalent of like 1944 Playboy, and then the model just being like...
just walks up, hey. Yep.
You're looking at my picture, are you, love? Would you like to look at some more?
Well, there you go, folks. That is The Woman in the Window, the 1944 film directed by Fritz Lang. We hope that you check it out and maybe even try the drink for tonight, The Window's Mirage. And we will see you next time.
Bye-bye.
He's looking at you, kid.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Speakeasy Noircast. Make sure to visit our website, resurrectionfilms.net, where you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Stitcher, or any of your favorite podcast apps so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, if you found value in the show, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes, or if you'd simply tell a friend about the show, that would help us out too. If you like the show, you might want to check out our book, The Dark Side of Acting Up, and The Dark Side of Acting Up Volume 2, now available on Amazon. Or you can check out one of our films, also available on Amazon Prime. Be sure to tune in next week for another episode of the Speakeasy Noircast.